What if suffering wasn't there to destroy you, but to reveal you something? In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl shares an eye opening idea. Even in the most extreme suffering, we can find a meaning. Today, for the day number 8 of my challenge, reading 60 books in 60 days, I'm going to show you how to transform your suffering into a source of power, not by avoiding it, but by looking at it differently. To transform your suffering into a real source of power for you, you need to find a meaning in your suffering. A suffering may mean different things. It can be a mirror that shows you what you don't want to see in your life or what you don't want to face in your life. It can also be a call for a change in your life. It indicates you that something in you or in your life has to be changed. It can be a recall of what really matters, what has a meaning when everything falls apart in your life. But no matter what we call it or how we deal with it, there is one thing suffering is: a trigger of a meaning in our lives, something that supports growth in our life, but under one condition: for us to choose how to answer to our suffering. For you to answer to this question, you have to ask yourself, you have to face your suffering and question it. What do you mean in my life? Why are you there? Try to answer to this question and try to give a meaning to your suffering. Because it is only when it finds a meaning that suffering stops being suffering. I know you want to avoid the pain, but you have to take the courage to face it and question it. Because it's only when you figure out that your suffering is there to indicate you that something has to change in your life that the suffering disappear. And I know what I'm talking about because this is something I'm experimenting now with my challenge of reading 60 books in 60 days. And because I know the reason why I'm doing this, things don't feel like suffering anymore. But assuming I didn't know the reason why I was doing this, do you think that I would have been able to take all this pain, having to wake up at 3 a.m. every day and start working from 3 a.m. to 7 p.m. for 60 days in a row? If I did not know the meaning of all this suffering, I would not have been able to take the pain. But since I found the meaning of all this, does not feel like suffering to me. And that's what I'm inviting you to do with your suffering and what you're going through in your life. Try to know why it is there and what it means. Listen, this is the one thing you need to understand with suffering in our lives. Suffering is never something unnecessary. It's never something purposeless. It's always plays a role, always brings something in our lives. And this thing is always positive under the same condition. For this person to not let it go without finding its meaning. If you clicked on this video because you want to find and figure out how to transform your suffering into a power, chances are this is not the first time for you to experiment such things. But the last time you had to experiment suffering in your life, it came and it gone without you to even try to figure out what it meant. Suffering may come and go from your life, but every time it comes and you let it go without finding its meaning, you've blew the opportunity to stick to something positive in your life. So, for this specific suffering you experiment currently, just like you used to do, to ask yourself, what is the meaning of all this in my life? Try to replicate it, but do it with your suffering and ask yourself. I know the question is hard to answer, but you are the only one who can find, or would I even say, who can give a meaning to the suffering you are going through currently in your life. Just dare to step up, face it, and take the best advantage of it. Your suffering cannot be meaningless. If life itself has a meaning, it means that everything that life brings or gives to us has a meaning too. Love has a meaning. That's why you fall in love. Your work has a meaning. That's why you thrive in it. And so is the case for your suffering. They also have a meaning. You need to find it, and it will make you stronger. All you need is to ask to yourself, ask to the specialist, ask to the wise men you can find, ask to anyone on earth, what does your suffering mean? And if nobody can explain to you, ask to God for what. And that's all for the day number 8 of my challenge, reading 60 books in 60 days. I hope this one was useful to you. If it is the case, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you tomorrow for a new video. Bye bye.